This is Raymond Posch, host of New Ways of Being, and this is episode 23, Be Who You Truly Are. And I'm excited to announce that because of major shifts and new ways of being in myself, beginning with this episode, the focus will be on teaching what I have learned to my listening audience. I will be sharing information about myself and others less and teaching more. So even though interviews with others can be very valuable and interesting, there will be fewer of those going forward. And instead, I will be teaching lessons that I have learned from my own experience and teachings from the Council, which is a group of ascended masters and others. And now it is important to understand that these teachings are not teachings of well-established techniques, but rather experience-based learning from way showers and channels like myself. And that's because the world and human consciousness are evolving very rapidly right now. And so it's about finding what works best in changing times. Much of what I will be teaching will be fairly new discoveries I have verified in my own personal experience and teachings that I have received as a channel from or in direct telepathic conversation with uh, others, such as the council, the divine, angels, spirit guides, and so on. Direct telepathic conversations are very powerful because I can ask lots of questions and get immediate answers. And what I do is I apply those answers to my own life. And as I understand what they mean, then I will be able to share those with you. So, and that starts with this episode today. It is still to be determined if episodes will be released every other week or possibly going to a monthly schedule going forward. That will probably be determined by the size and amount of preparation time of each specific episode. So it may cause the episode schedule to vary somewhat. Um, it will be every month. Well, yeah, let me say it this way. Every month we'll have at least one new episode, but it may have two if the episodes are significantly shorter. So those might be approximately 30 minutes or less versus longer, which they've been anywhere in the range of 50 minutes to 70 minutes, or somewhere in between. So the schedule may vary. Also, please be sure to listen through to the end of this episode because I have a pre-release announcement of a new course that I will be offering soon. And always check my website, raymondposch.com, for more information, including services and products. And again, I've mentioned this before, but my last name is Posch, spelled Posch. RaymondPosch.com is the website. So, are you ready to begin experiencing a new way of being and all the good things like love and joy and abundance and certainty in yourself and in your life? Then listen to this episode and use it to begin creating your new way of being today. Okay. Now, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to actually cover some important fundamentals that I've learned actually over a long period of time in myself that I want to share for others. And I've shared some of these before and some not, but I actually am going to be looking at a section from my new course. Um, and this information will be in the new course as well as in the episode today. So, um, so what I'm doing again is sharing these fundamentals, and they have to do with they are basically about God and the universe and our individual human relationships to them. So, um, I hope you pay attention to this because this is not just my thinking about, what I believe, and it is what I believe, but it is really, for the most part, knowledge that is shared with many other spiritual teachings. It's shared with the Vedic teachings from India that go back multiple thousands of years. And, but other, actually, I would say most spiritual teachings today that are, based on spiritual principles, not necessarily religious principles, share most of these. So let me jump right in, and you will be familiar with some of these, and some might clarify some things for you, and that's why I'm sharing them. For example, I'm going to be talking about one universal consciousness is actually core to many, many teachings. And but then, some teachings are a bit vague about what that one consciousness is or what God is. So I'm going to try to help clarify that to you so that it is more understandable and makes more sense. Otherwise there'd be no point in me sharing this. But the more you understand this, it helps you explain some follow-on things. So here we go. Now, there is one consciousness that is the universal intelligence, which created the universe and everything in it. It is the source of all life, including you and me. And we are part of that one consciousness because we and everything are within it and part of it. Now, for example, some religions like Christianity, for example, they agree a little bit that um, that this that there is something called God, but many of them are very unclear about the nature of God. Some may actually talk about it as being one consciousness, but most of them do not. So that creates a great deal of misunderstanding of what God is. Religions call the one consciousness that I'm referring to God because it creates the physical realm or the physical universe, or nowadays we actually talk about possibly multiverses. But some religions do not understand that the physical universe and all beings are within the one consciousness. God is not a physical being in the clouds like some people believe or some religions imply. God is pure consciousness and pure love. So if you were raised to be afraid of God or that word, as many, actually as I and many people were, I encourage you to get over any fear of that word or fear of God itself, because all modern messengers share that God is pure love and therefore without judgment, and God is absolute goodness. Now, as I have talked about in many of my podcast episodes over several years, what I've come to understand that God is a great wholeness. One consciousness is a wholeness. And because of that wholeness, that becomes a very key concept. If there was not a wholeness, then, for example, there is separation between God and what he creates. And that causes all kinds of questions and issues and, actually problems with understanding of how this all works. But if you understand that it is a great wholeness, then for the wholeness to actually hold together and hold up, it has to be based in a benevolent God. God has to care about the universe because everything that's created in the universe is within itself. And if that weren't true, if there were if God were not good and the operations of God in the universe were not good, they quickly deteriorate into pure chaos and really become inoperable. You would not have a universe that makes any sense at all without wholeness. So God is one consciousness. God is a wholeness. Other names for one consciousness are perfectly valid if you prefer those, such as spirit, source energy, the divine, the unseen, all that is, the infinite, or the one. And so you can use a name that feels right to you. I actually prefer 3 of those names, and I use those myself. One consciousness, because it describes what God is, what the fundamental nature of the universe is. It's one consciousness. I also use the term the divine as a collective term for all that is knowingly participating in the flow and beingness of consciousness. So that's the divine. And I use the word God because it is a short, convenient, and standard name for the intelligent power of the universe. Now, I want you to be sure to pay attention to the holistic nature of one consciousness and existence. We are not and have never been, except in our mistaken mental beliefs, separate from God. Christianity, basically in the way they teach it, it comes across as that people are separate from God, and therefore God demands that they behave in a certain way and will punish them if they don't. And therefore religions, not God, but religion has created the idea of heaven and hell in particular, to, punish people who are not behaving the way that religion teaches. But God teaches, through all modern messengers, there is no hell, there is no devil, there is only good. Now, we people are individualized extensions of God because we are part of God. Many people have used the analogy of waves on the ocean by saying that we are like the waves and God is like the ocean. It would be the ocean of consciousness. And that means that we are, in those terms, we are extensions of the ocean as waves, but we are made of the ocean of consciousness. So that's a very common analogy, wave and ocean. God is the whole of the ocean, and we are individual waves on the ocean. Well, I'd like to also give you a different analogy. I mean, that's a good analogy. Um, like I know Deepak Chopra has used it. Wayne Dyer used it when he was alive. And it's been used by many other spiritual teachers. But I'd like to give you another analogy just to have one, a different analogy, and you may find this helpful. So I want you to remember now, consciousness is outside of space and time. So consciousness itself is not physical. But the one consciousness creates the physical realm within it, and that creates, so that physical realm has space and time. But consciousness itself does not, it is outside of space and time, so it is not physical. But this analogy that I'm going to use, like waves on the ocean, is of necessity in physical terms, because otherwise you could not relate to them. But this analogy is pointing out some conceptual features. So think of one consciousness as a sphere of light that is enormous in size, since one consciousness itself is infinite. And in this case, light represents consciousness. Now think of people, intelligent, self-aware beings, as light beams that extend out of the sphere of light a small distance. Now, they're still a part of it, but they are extending out from it. So people are individualized extensions of the sphere of light and have the same characteristic and are part of, but not separate from, the sphere of light. So with this analogy, then you and I are extensions of the sphere of light and are made of the light. And as I said, light is representing consciousness. So I find that analogy to be helpful. You may or may not, but I wanted to give you another analogy to have. To put it another way, you are made of God stuff. Never believe otherwise. If you are a Christian who was taught to believe otherwise, as I was, I invite you to go back and read what Jesus said in the Bible, not what the organized religion teaches in its dogma. And Jesus knew and taught that we are part of God, that the kingdom of God is within us, and that and God itself is within us as well, that consciousness, and that, Jesus said, have I not told you, ye are gods? So Jesus understood it. And I've read other teachings from Jesus that are not in the Bible, but and in those he teaches the same thing as well. So you are made of God stuff. That's consciousness. Now, when we think about the nature of God or one consciousness, it has certain major characteristics, like God is omnipotent or all powerful because it can create whole universes. And it is omniscient or all knowing, since it is all of consciousness. All knowing is within that consciousness. And because the physical realm is within it, not separate from it. So it knows the physical realm as well. And for the same reason, it is omnipresent or everywhere. So you may have heard those terms before, and so I'm relating to them. And as far as we know, or as we can know, God must be eternal as well as infinite. And it is expansive and dynamic, not static, because of what we observe on of the universe and of life everywhere. Now, and today, most cosmologists, as well as most spiritual masters, would say that God is one living wholeness. And so it's very interesting. Science, including cosmologists, have come to a good understanding of this. And God is complete and contains the whole of existence within itself. Now, I also believe and know firsthand that God is goodness, as demonstrated by its wholeness. And by the way, I know it firsthand because I uh, have learned to be a channel, and I have conversations with God. And so I've asked God directly about many of these things. And uh, so I'm sharing firsthand information from myself, what I've learned from God and from my own experience in life. Um, certainly life is not all good, but I know that behind it is pure goodness. Everything that is not good or goodness arises from the human disconnect, the belief in separation. And if it weren't for that, we would be experiencing goodness in great depth in our lives and in the world today. So, um, and God is in perfect union with all individualized extensions. In other words, beings or people that are part of it, as attested by the spiritual masters, both ancient and modern. So there are many ancient spiritual masters. Jesus and Buddha are the ones most commonly cited, but there have been many others. Confucius, and many others. And there are many spiritual masters today or in recent times, and those should be acknowledged. Now, I'll point out that Christianity tends to deny everything except the Bible, so they deny it. Many Christian religions deny it, but there have been esoteric Christians who have totally understood these concepts because they had the depth of consciousness and beingness to explore it within their own being, their own consciousness. Let me keep going here. So every person is an individuation of God. You may have heard that term before. Every person is an individuation of God. It is consciousness in individuated form. So every person knows itself as an individual. You do and I do, but we are sharing in one consciousness. Now, I'm not going to totally explain that today. I'm going to keep going here, but it is, once you delve into it, you can begin to understand it. I'll touch on it as I go on. Now, the world is full of human God beings. People are God beings because they are part of God. And God tells us that every person is equal in inherent worth and worthiness to every other person in the universe. And so once you begin understanding these fundamentals, then the lights will start coming on for you, because doesn't that give you a whole new perspective on humanity and the world? It should. I mean, if you understand that you are part of this one consciousness that religions call God, and I'm calling God, That means that everything in it is part of God, including every person. And every person shares in, well, I'm going to go into it here in the next paragraph, I guess. Um, but once you understand that every person is the divine in individuated physical form, then you have to treat them differently. I mean, they are part of God just like you are. They are equal to you. And now that may not, right now in the world, people don't all know this. They weren't taught this. So most people operate out of the belief in separation, and they believe they are not a part of God. And so as a result, they behave in ways that you know, when you understand this, you might say, well, they need to change their behavior. Well, they have to learn this first. So, um, but this is important because it points to how the world could be different and should be different. Now, we are told by the spiritual masters that we, as extensions of God, have most of the characteristics of God. We are co-creator. Let me say that again. We are co-creative partners with God. We have access to all knowledge through our sharing in the one consciousness of God. We are eternal, infinite spiritual beings. Now, these human bodies are not eternal, but the spiritual being inside that body or uh, associated with that body um, is eternal, and every person is eternal. We have unlimited power to create our own experience of life when we operate from the ocean of creation that is God. So if we change our thinking and our knowing, we can begin to experience life in a much different way. Now, that's what I'm going to be getting to here. But most people, including myself, are still awakening to and learning how to use these greater capabilities. And since I have learned to communicate with God and other spiritual beings, including the council and angels and ascended masters, I have been able to confirm these capabilities are real. You are an extension of God, and you can use those capabilities to create your own experiences of life because you are the creator of those experiences. Now, hold on. I know that is going to raise objections, but you are the creator of your experiences of life. I'll keep going because I'm going to teach this. To create, you must use your God energy. And the council refers to stepping into your I am creator presence as the key to using God energy. Now, so I'm referring to the council. Um, uh, if you've listened to my podcast, you will have heard this mentioned before, but the council is a group of ascended masters. They are not on earth. They are in the spiritual realm, and they are channeled by a channeler named Sarah Landon, who channeled a lot of incredibly valuable teachings from the council. And she published it in her first book called The Wisdom of the Council. I have studied that book extensively, and subsequently, after starting to study that, I became able to channel the council myself. But so they teach so much wisdom, so much good information that I'm going to give some specific quotes here in a minute. So, but At a fundamental level, it is my understanding that consciousness extends its creative force or intention, or you might say tendency, into the physical realm as energy. Okay, so I've been talking about consciousness. Now I'm going to start talking about energy. So energy is in the physical realm because consciousness, it extends its creative force or intention or tendency into the physical realm as energy. That energy can be called source energy. Many spiritual teachers refer to it as source energy, or God energy, as I just referred to it. I prefer that term myself because it originates from one consciousness or God. So it's God energy. It comes from God. As a result, everything in the physical universe is made of energy. Everything is in energy. You've probably heard that before. Many spiritual teachers now know that and teach it. They've learned it from quantum physicists who have come to understand that everything is energy, and that there are certain like the original term was quantum mechanics, quantum mechanical principles that apply, or we could say quantum physics that apply. Sorry, I didn't come out right. Quantum physics teaches many of these things that I will be touching on, but certainly they know that everything is energy, and they know that everything arises out of the unseen in mysterious ways. It suddenly appears in the quantum field, or we could say it comes out of the quantum field into the physical universe. So don't get too hung up on that at this point in time. The key thing is that everything is energy, everything has consciousness within it, and so both of those things you may never have heard before. I want to keep going on and explaining a bit more of this. Yeah, so I mentioned the book, The Wisdom of the Council, channeled by Sarah Landon and written and published by Sarah Landon. But I'm going to call out three specific quotes out of that book because they talk about some fundamental things also that I want to share with you here. So the first quote is, "Your life is meant to be so very good for you. Your life is meant to be miraculous. Your life is meant to be magical. Your life is meant to be an endless expression of your highest creation, an endless, joyful, abundant manifestation." Now, this is very, very important. Most people in the world today see the world as difficult, full of many things that they might call evil or badness, talking about all the violence and divisiveness, inequality, all of those things that we see in the world that many people don't like. I'd say most people don't like because they know it's creating a bad experience inside. But this is a very important message. Life is meant to be good. Life is meant to be miraculous. You are meant to be a creator of your highest creation, which is joyful and abundant and good. So this means, expanding on that just a little bit more, that you are meant to be a creator. Okay, I don't know if you see yourself as one or not, but you are meant to be a creator. And in fact, you are today, you just may not know it. You are meant to be a creator of your own life experiences. And in fact, you are a creator of your own life experiences. And you would say, no, I wouldn't create all of these bad things that have happened to me, getting divorced, being without a job, you know, being assaulted or, whatever it might be. You would not choose that. And of course, you do not, because you do not know all of what I'm talking about. You would not know how to make it any different. So you experience it as not your own creation, but you are a contributor in that creation, whether you know it or not. And also the collective human consciousness is a creator as well. And what we would call bad is arising out of that. Let me keep going because I'd like to keep this a bit shorter uh, than this. But and then another point is creating your own life experiences. If you understand that, the more you understand it, then it enables you or would enable you to have a good, miraculous, magical, joyful, and abundant life. Life is meant to be joyful. But you also have a choice in what you create. You, as a creator, are given choice and free will. Um, if you didn't, you'd just be a robot. So everyone, this is an important point, and everyone, once they understand it, would agree. Well, yes, I want to have a choice. I want to create this and this and this, the things that I love, not what someone else might want to create. So choice is very important. Here's the second quote that I'm going to give you right now. As you align to a higher level of consciousness, your well-being and abundance are assured. Now, this is very important. And this means you must learn to shift to a higher level of consciousness to create what you desire. Now, right now, most people in the world, 99%, are at a lower consciousness because most people believe in separation. We're separate from everything else, all other people, and we're separate from God, if you even believe in God. And so we must change that belief. We must change to a higher level of consciousness that knows that we are a part of this one consciousness that I've been talking about. So that's very important, though. In order for you to be able to apply what I'm saying and talking about, you must learn to shift to a higher level of consciousness, change your beliefs, change your level of awareness in order to create what you would desire. And I can tell you right now, I don't want to go into this too deep, but you must consciously turn away from thinking about the problems, and that is everything that is wrong in your life or in the world. You may have heard Einstein's he had a famous quote where he said, problems cannot be solved at the level of consciousness at which they were created. It requires a higher level of understanding, which is a higher consciousness. And so you must learn to turn away from focusing on problems and instead use higher consciousness to find solutions. So you can go within yourself to find answers, solutions, and resources thanks to your connection to the divine or God. And, as you learn to do that, you raise yourself to a higher level of consciousness. Now, you must also consciously turn away from belief in separation. Separation, as I said, is the cause of all our problems in the world. It it automatically leads to, belief in separation automatically leads to fear. If you're separate from everyone else, then you have to compete with them for resources, and you have to be wary of them. Will they hurt you? So fear arises out of separation. So I would say to you right now, instead, right now, start remembering that you are, and all people are, extensions of God, and we are all parts of one divine wholeness in the universe. Let me go on to the third quote from the book. In the book, the council says, energy is in everything. Money is energy. Healing is energy. Your body is energy. Your relationships are energy. They are. Everything is energy. You are energy. And everything is consciousness. You expand your consciousness by allowing more energy. Okay, now let me say what this means. So that quote means that energy and consciousness are the two fundamentals of existence, in the universe. They go hand in hand. And I've touched on why. You expand your consciousness by allowing more energy, and know that energy is already within you. And if you want more energy, it's all around you. And now, and consciousness moves energy into form. This is actually a separate quote from the council, but it's part of what's being implied here. Consciousness moves energy into form. And so it's directly related to the importance of energy and how you would use energy. And by consciously opening and allowing it, you can move energy into desired forms of existence or experiences within you. All right, I know that's a big chunk to absorb right off, and but I want to keep going. Let's see here. All right. So I want to talk just a little bit more about life, because life is an important aspect of this as well. And so I could say that life is same thing. Another word is God or one consciousness. But, life, life as it's the process of life unfolding, flowing, and changing our experience in the world. And more than that, it's the unfolding and flowing and changing in all its delightful complexity, moment by moment. And it is expansive. Now, I say it's delightful complexity, because it's what makes life interesting. It's the good aspect of what's happening to us and around us. But it's also expansive. And life must expand. If it did not, it would stagnate and slowly die away. So life only exists because it is expansive. Okay. Now let me keep going here. Life truly is expansive, and it is dynamic, interesting, and glorious in all its wonder. In fact, we can say those same things of God and God energy. As I said, we could almost make God and life synonyms, but But understand that God is not separate from life. It is uh, God is a full participant in life through us and all of existence. It is God that is life manifesting. God is expansive because life is, and life is uh, God expressing itself, and life is expansing because God is expansive. So it's, it's all tied together. Now we, as part of life and with our free will, must by implication be expansive also. Now this will turn out, if we keep going into this to be something pretty important here, but I'm just going to be touching on it today. So I said that we uh, must by implication be expansive also. That is somewhat contrary to what many of us have been taught. We've been taught that resources are limited and, be cautious and be careful. And cautiousness has a place, but much of that cautiousness is based on the old belief in separation. Once we learn that we are all part of a great divine wholeness that is expansive by its very nature, then we must align with that expansiveness we are part of. Divine wholeness refers to life arising out of one consciousness in all its amazing diversity, in all its different forms, in all its abundance. And the divine wholeness is interconnected as a single whole at the levels of consciousness, energy, and life. And all of those levels are expansive. So, in the day-to-day world, when we see people as being in separate bodies, it's hard to see the wholeness. You have to understand this basis in consciousness and energy and life. So that's why I'm pointing it out. The belief in separation from God and from each other has also led us to believe that we are limited beings. But once we understand that we are part of the divine and part of an unlimited, creative, and abundant wholeness that is God, then we must change our perspective. We human beings are expansive, and we are also abundant and unlimited when in our true God nature. Okay, now I said most people are not in their true God nature, at least in their belief, in their mind. But if we were, we would know life as abundant and unlimited. But we cannot experience our abundant, unlimited nature when we are operating from ego and denying that we are extensions of God. So we must become fully aware of our nature and shift into that power that is ours. And so I will be of the first to point out that, if you hear that, what I just said, that we are unlimited since we are a part of one consciousness, which is unlimited. That sounds totally wrong and foreign and unbelievable because we've gone through this process of learning in the experience of life to believe otherwise. We are taught to believe in separation and fear. So we've all gone through, in order to change that, we must go through a new learning curve to accept it as truth and to change our beliefs and come to understand how we really operate in the world. So I'm in a few minutes here, I'm going to be talking about a new course that I will be offering very soon. And it's designed to help you understand everything I'm saying today in much greater detail. and really come to understand that we are unlimited beings. Um, but that also brings us back to knowing that we are meant to be the creators of our own life experiences. Okay. Now we don't know that as true for the most part right now. We have to be taught how that really works. We have to raise our level of consciousness. So for most of us, what I just said, that we are meant to be the creators of our own life experiences, that's very surprising and eye-opening thing to realize. Our cultural conditioning tells us that the world out there is as it is, and not that we participate in its creation. And that cultural conditioning also causes us to be very self-limiting when it comes to creating. So by now, I'm encouraging you to be expansive, to begin thinking about what I'm talking about. Work towards being expansive as a creator of your own life. Think bigger and better when creating your life experiences. Allow more abundance, allow bigger results, feeling into that bigger results, feeling into enjoying life more with bigger results, and allowing yourself to be happier and more pumped up with even bolder thoughts about what you can create. Think like the divine creator that you actually are. That's what I'm saying. All right. So that's really as much as I can go into it today. That I know that raises a whole lot of questions for you, but I will be talking about giving you more details in future podcasts for sure. But I do at this point want to say that I am pleased to pre-announce that I will be offering a new course within the next few weeks. It is titled Become a Master of Life, with the subtitle How to Know and Use God Energy. Now, I've already done all the content development work. That's essentially complete. But I'm in the process of finalizing whether it will be released as 3 modules, as 4. Right now, module 3 is pretty large, and I think it may be get to be a little unmanageable treating as one module. So I'm thinking about, do I split it into 2? So I haven't quite made that decision, but I'm about to do that. And I will also be making a whole lot of website changes before the release. But so I would tell you, please check my website, raymondposch.com, periodically. And the course announcement will be on the home page when that happens. And it may not initially have an active link, but it will become active when the release is all said and done. So that's over the next few weeks. Right now, we're in early August, so by the end of August, I'm hoping that it is available. So let me say to you, have a great day and a great life, and stay tuned for many more great episodes to come.